give a very warm welcome to Pejman for joining us today, and thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us and lots of Amplitude team member. So Pejman, let me give a little bit of background on Pejman. Pejman is the founding manager and partner of Pear VC, which is a very early stage fund and one of the most successful one. They have had great investment in startups such as DoorDash, Guardian Health, Gusto, Lending Club, Zusk, and Dropbox, and many, many more. And one thing that is very exciting about Pejman path to becoming a VC, that is not a very traditional path, and actually it makes it very exciting and interesting to chat with him and hear about his journey. And I'm very, very excited to have you. I think you're bringing so much different experience and background, and I think it would be great to be sharing that with the team and your experiences. So maybe we start a little bit. Actually, one of the things I actually didn't even know. I went to your website and I saw that you have been, professional player in Iran, soccer player in Iran, and actually covered the to FIFA World Cup as a reporter, which is, soccer is a big deal in Iran. I think it's everywhere big deal, except maybe some part in US is not as big of a deal. People like to play it, but maybe they don't watch it as much. But it's a very, very big deal in Iran, and maybe you can start a little bit about tell us a little bit about that and your love for soccer and how it shaped your later experiences in life.
Yeah, well, thank you, Shadi, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, I know Eric and Bilal for a few years. I can acknowledge that I've never been in a room with so many engineers and PMs, so it's first for me. So thank you so much for inviting me here. I grew up in Iran, and as you know, I'm a venture capitalist by kind of accident. I grew up in war and revolution. I was 10 years old when revolution in Iran happened, and then 8 years war. So I think my teenager life was full of things that you don't want to do as a teenager, and it was hard. And when I look back now, and I know you grew up in Iran, I mean, those days really make me stronger to deal with things here. I think if you are 14, 15 years old, you wake up and at night they bomb your city, and you learn so much. My first attempt to be an entrepreneur, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and my first attempt was, I think when I was 16 years old, and you remember those nights they were bombing Tehran every night, Iraqi jets, and sometimes because of Iran's anti-aircraft, um, the Iraqi jets couldn't come low enough to drop the bomb, so they were breaking the sound barrier, and as a result, their windows were shattered, and I thought maybe and people putting duct tape on their windows so these small pieces of windows doesn't come to your eyes. So maybe I should go and sell duct tapes to every single shops in a very long street in Tehran. Imagine it's like an El Camino Real. So I bought these tapes in the morning, and I went the entire day, walked by like a few hundred stores, and guess how many people bought duct tapes from me? Zero. Nobody bought anything. And I gave up. I came home and I told my dad that I'm giving up. But I learned a lesson that time that, I gave up pretty quickly. Maybe I should have gone to a different street. Maybe I should have changed the color of the tape. Maybe I should have changed the sales pitch. And that's what good entrepreneurs do. I think there's a block in front of you. They found another way. So that's I'm an investor. I leave it up to you people you to figure. So anyway, I played professional soccer, and I hosted Iran's most popular radio talk show when I was 18 years old, and it was just an amazing time. Imagine you're 18 years old and you host LeBron James of your country in your show. So I became really famous, and I went to university, and I went to a very good university in Iran, and I dropped the university after 2 years, and I thought I want to leave Iran. Um, and fast forward, I ended up going to Germany to stay with my parents. And a professional soccer team offered me to play for them. after 3-4 weeks being in Germany, my brother who left Iran when he was 15 years old, and he had this American dream, and he was denied visa for like a few years, 3-4 years. He said, "Oh, I think you need to go to America." I told him, "Listen, I don't speak the language. I speak German. Actually, I went to German school in Iran, and I go to university here. Why should I go?" I said, "Okay, it doesn't hurt. Let's go to Frankfurt." So we took a train to an embassy, and I remember the counselor was a young woman, and she said, "Okay, tell me about your life." I'd explain it for 45 minutes, and I said, "Yeah, I want to go to watch NBA and NFL games," and that was my idea. I mean, I didn't have a plan, and she said, "I don't know why, but I want you to see my country." So she gave me a visa. I took a chance. This is your 22, 23. At my age now, I don't take this type of risk. So I arrived in America after a few weeks, and I had $700 cash and didn't speak any language. I arrived here in San Carlos because my uncle lived here. So at that time, I was in love with the girl in Iran, and I thought, I'm going to lose her now. I mean, being in the U.S., and I said, okay, the only reason I should call her every day. So this is 1992, and there was no internet phone. There was none of these things. There was nothing free, and I had to take a bag of quarter every day, go to payphone, and it was like 4 or 5 minutes, and $4 or $5 a minute to call her mom. So that $700 was gone in a few weeks, and I had no money. Didn't speak the language. I wanted to work, and I ended up getting a job in the car wash in San Jose. So I bought a 1973 Chevy for $750, 5 payments of $150. And I started to wash cars. That was my first job in America. And I tell you, I'm the best car washer the world has ever seen. I wash cars like no one else. I knew my life won't stop there. And I thought, okay, maybe I make the best out of every day. And rather than complain, I just did the best job. And then some people said, "Oh, we wash our cars once every month," but because of you, we come once every 2 weeks because you just did such an amazing job. Anyway, my English improved. I ended up getting a job in the yogurt shop by an Iranian. Actually gave me a job, and I started to work out of that yogurt shop here in Redwood City. And at that time, I wanted to save money, so I asked the owner of the yogurt shop if I can sleep in an attic above the yogurt shop. And for a few months, I slept in the car and slept in that attic. And that attic was real attic, like above the yogurt shop, kind of a storage place, very short ceiling, and no oxygen, nothing. I woke up every morning 5 a.m. opening up the yogurt shop, work till 5, 6 p.m., go to college, exercise, took a shower, and come back. That was every day. Until one day, I saw this ad on TV that Medallion Rug Gallery in downtown Palo Alto is hiring salespeople. And Medallion Rug is just a very famous, popular, maybe one of the best rug gallery in the world in downtown Palo Alto. And I called, every Iranian, including Jadi, thinks we know something about carpets, but we don't know about Persian rug. We always have an opinion, because we grew up on it. And I thought, okay, I grew up on rugs, maybe I know something. I didn't know anything. So the gentleman who owned the gallery, rejected me on the phone, and I insisted that he should meet me. So the next day I went over there with student 5, he hired me on the spot. So my life changed. I got a little bit better money making, and I started to sell rugs, and I became really good at it. Fast forward 1 year, I sold $8 million worth of carpets, which is like unheard of in this business. For you to know, Persian rugs are expensive, and typically sales happen at people's home. So Eric or Shadi come to the rug gallery and said, "Oh, we are looking for a carpet for our living room and dining room." And we start to look at carpets, and at the end, he said, "Okay, let's take these 20 carpets to your home to see it in the place." So by doing that, I went to people's home around me, and I figured out after a few years, all of my customers are venture capitalists, CEOs, and bankers and lawyers. And I was really amazed of not how much money they had, but mostly they built things based on knowledge. And for me, businesses was always making things, and it was kind of unbelievable. Well, you can create jobs with just knowledge and code, and it was just, okay, I want to be one of these people. and I start to ask questions. I read a lot, and my actually advantage was I had access to people who normally take anybody in the world, meet them like 2 years if you want, and normally you cannot meet them. But I was hanging out with their families and barbecue, and they open it up. So little by little, I built a really exclusive network of most influential people in the tech world, being my client, being my friends, and I ended up convincing the owner to partner with me to start investing in startups. And this is late 90s. Imagine no TechCrunch, no YC, none of these things. And the only thing I started to do is just throwing a lot of events at the Rock Gallery. I remember one night I brought the entire partnership of Sequoia Capital and invited 100 Iranian entrepreneurs, mostly PhD from Stanford. And Sequoia loved it because those guys have never been in front of like 30 PhDs in one place. And the only thing I was doing is like Persian music and food, and said something magical will happen. That's how I started it, connecting people. But I noticed that I have a value in the ecosystem. My value was like networking to begin with and really understand the need of founders and connecting with the right people. That's how I started it. Imagine if you want to play in NBA. I was imagining I want to play, but I knew I won't be the Steph Curry. But I knew if I do the right thing, I can be the best agent the NBA has ever seen. So I played the role of being an agent over there. Fast forward, I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned by failure. I think I have the worst track record in the history. The first year I invested in the companies that were shutting down in 4 weeks, but I didn't know. But little by little, I got to know exceptional entrepreneurs, and I ended up being the first investor in Dropbox, Lending Club, Danger, many great companies. So, and I started to invest my own capital. Around 2009 and 10, I felt that nobody's helping founders. I saw the cap table of raising $1 million, and I was a small angel investor. But even the funds that were putting a few $100,000, they were not helping entrepreneurs. And for me, the venture capitalists are exactly what Hewlett Packard had. So if you drive by that garage, I always thought the venture capitalist becomes an extension of the founding team, and you really help them and you become part of their team. And I thought that is missing from the whole ecosystem. And I decided to build an institution to serve founders day zero in the garage. But I knew my skills is not enough to walk into that garage and say, I'm your best partner. So obviously, I had an incredible network. I knew the valley very well. I had a really good track record of investment, but it wasn't enough to say, okay, I'm your best partner, pick me. And I wanted to partner with somebody who needs to product. And I knew my current partner, Mark Hershenson, is the right person. We know each other for 21 years. I invested actually in her second company in 2003, which she sold it to a public company. We're kind of yin and yang. I'm a college dropout. She's a Stanford PhD in Double D from Stanford with 24 patents and MIT Lifetime Achievement Awards. I never worked for a tech company. I invested in over 120 startups before the fund. She invested in 0 companies. So anyway, it took me 4 years to convince her, and finally she gave up, and we started to work with each other out of a coffee shop in at Cupola Cafe in downtown Palo Alto for 6 months. It was very obvious. It's a very complementary team. We respect each other, and we want to build something greater than 2 of us. So we teamed up, and since then, this is our 8th year of business. We have raised over $300 million. Our promise is to be the best partner for entrepreneurs at the early stages, and building the entire DNA of the firm to serve founders at that stage. Our company is now worth over $80 billion. We have 2 IPO with Garden Health and DoorDash. Fund 1 is perhaps the best performing first seed fund ever. I can't reveal the numbers. I think we're still very hungry. We're still very learning. And I think we think we're at the beginning of something great. I want to build an institution that will be in the business in 100 years. And we're hiring people who can be the leader of this firm down the road. And our team is very hungry, very ambitious. I make Persian tea every morning at the office, and I serve everyone tea. So whatever it takes to win. I think Eric and Bilal can attest that I make Persian tea in the office every day. Anyway, I paused here. It was a lot of information. I just want to make sure I cover enough about what I've done so far.
No, this is great. Thank you so much. It was amazing to hear your story and sharing it with us. Actually, it was very. I heard a number of great stuff in your story as you were telling. It was a story of resiliency, right? from the time of the war to being a new immigrant and being in the yoga shop and going through this hardship in life, and then you also in making it and become successful. And you mentioned something about we are hungry, so I wanted to double click a little bit on these two aspects of resilience and hunger. How do you see that, and as you're how do you see that shaping you and making you successful, and do you look for that in people that you invest in? Is that something that is important for you as you're looking at people that you're investing in them?
Yeah, I get a lot of joy by helping others. Imagine if you find two entrepreneurs and help them build a public company, it's really priceless, creating jobs, and it's just really beyond wealth creating for that company, for myself, or our team. It's just more about the impact you have on the world. And I think you only can enjoy it if you really believe in it in a genuine way rather than just tweet about it. We build the team with the same DNA. So we look for people who are really serving others. I think you're very lucky and fortunate to live in this era and to live in Bay Area, to be part of the tech and to have so much impact on the world. And I think we are grateful for it. But at the same time, we want to take advantage to use the platform, the capital, the network we have to a great cause. Our LPs, people who invest in our fund, their capital that on their behalf we invest in companies, majority of them are non-profit organizations. We did it with the purpose. We think if DoorDash goes public and we return a lot of capital, it should go to the right cause. We have university endowments. One of our LPs is firefighters endowments. I wake up every morning, I think about those families and firefighters who go fight fire and give their money to us. So if you think about it, and if I make a good investment, means their families benefit. One of them is an endowment in Hawaii that send underserved children to universities with scholarship, and this is a public data. The result of our return of DoorDash, they had been able to send 2,300 high school kids to scholarship to universities. It's just amazing that you fund these people. And I don't want to get all the credit. I think the credit goes to the founders, but really having this mission and vision, why are we doing this? And it's very easy in Silicon Valley in tech to get really sidetracked of the whole wealth and capital. But the true of what we do is just creating jobs, creating values, and really be a small part of changing society for many, many years. So if you have that vision, I think you can't fake it. You just cannot think about, okay, I do this to get a better car or do these things in reality, but you say something else. You have to believe in it and wake up every morning doing it. And it comes from me and Mar. I mean, the reason I'm making Persian tea to just send the message to everybody else that no task is too small, no task is too big. I convince the CEO of Uber to do partnership with our company, but I make a tea every day also. It doesn't matter, whatever it takes.
Yes, that's great. It's awesome to hear that you have such a high vision about having the right impact, whether it means helping company and entrepreneurs and creating jobs, or basically helping with your LPs to basically get the high return on them. And I really like what you mentioned about no job is too small and make tea for everybody. I always say actually one of our value system at Amplitude is humility, and I'm very glad to hear that it's very connected with how we value it. It's very good in here. So one thing I wanted to again double click on your background, and there's a lot of VCs in Silicon Valley these days, and you're coming from a little bit of a non-traditional VC background. How, and being a smart a business person and owning a small business, how does it shape you, or how does it set you apart from the rest of the VCs who are investing? How does it help you in either decision making, assessing people, or the areas that you focus on? Your background help you set that?
No, that's a good question. So when I was doing this solo asset investment, ability to really understand the best entrepreneurs and really help them. And my help wasn't really on product strategy, mostly was sharing a lot of mistakes other entrepreneurs have done and making sure they don't do it, connecting them with the right people, and sometimes really taking for a walk and say it's okay, your customer, nothing works. You know, and I still do it. I mean, people sometimes need somebody else tell them it's okay. You know, you should be kind of their brother or sister or grandma or grandpa in the business, because being an entrepreneur is really hard, and it's kind of a roller coaster emotionally. You wake up in the morning, you think it's the best job in the world, and at noon you think you have to go back to Google because nothing works, and then in the afternoon everything works. So being able to really understand that and relay that to founders, one. But I think today, I think I built a team that I think is the best team in the world at the seed stage, and I need how to build that team, what kind of expertise we need. I don't think anybody can be successful without a great team members. And I learned that by playing soccer. You can be messy, but you always need Xavi and Iniesta behind you. Otherwise, you can't win alone. So today, Pear is like a soccer team. Everybody has a responsibility. We play for each other. We sacrifice, and winning it what is important at the end of the day. And if my team says, Pejman, we know you're the captain, but we want you to sit on the bench, that's the only way we're in today. I don't need to play. So if you have that level of sacrifice as a part of a team, your team will go far away. So I think and being different allowed me to connect with people. I think entrepreneurs like to see somebody who has genuine interest in them, in the personal development of them. And I think I encourage always, when you pick your team and you pick your manager and you pick your co-founder or even investors, always want people around you that they have genuine interest in you as a person, and making sure you grow.
That's great. Yeah, actually, I really value authenticity, right? As you mentioned, you cannot fake it. If you really don't, believe in your mission or helping people, you cannot fake it. If your goal is to make money, people BS is always the radar is up. So it's great, and I think people definitely working with you see that your interest and your authenticity, and actually that's
Yeah,
that makes
I just want to make sure. I think making money is great. Nothing wrong about it. I think all of these things, if Amplitude doing all of these things for free, there's no company, there's no job, there is no health insurance, there's no school for your kids. So obviously, you really want to make money. But I think the best entrepreneurs I've seen, that's not the ultimate goal they have. It's part of wealth creation. It's part of the goals that they have, but it's not the only thing. And that's the reason they start a company.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, and one thing that you mentioned that I think is very, very important is having the right team, right? You feel like that you've built this company, you've hired, a great team of people, and then you have all the connection, you created this ecosystem, and now you set the thing in motion, which is great. What recommendation do you have for people actually who want to go into basically go into investing, whether they're from tech background or non-tech background? What advice do you give to people, maybe first to non-tech and then to tech people, of getting into it?
Well, I think if you want to go to invest, I think the first question is this something you love that you want to do it every day? And investing, just helping others build great companies, that's one thing. And I think you have to really realize or understand what is your value for that company and why this entrepreneur should partner with me. That's the question we ask every day. And then the third one is, how do I find the best company? So, I mean, when you become a venture capitalist and investor, I think there are three things you should think about. It. One, how do I meet the best entrepreneurs? So kind of your deal flow, how do you get to know them? What are you doing that is you see them before anybody else? That's one thing. Obviously, ability to pick winners early, especially in my job, is maybe the hardest part because there's nothing to look at, there's no data, and that comes really with experience. And third one, it's how do you help entrepreneurs and why they should partner with you? And you should have an answer for all of it. And people who are really good at, I think some of the best VCs have seen, and I know some other firms are product managers, because product managers kind of their CEO on their own. The managed team, the ship product, they have a budget. So that's one way to look at it. But again, it's a very competitive, but that doesn't mean you cannot be part of it. It's finding your place in the ecosystem. More than anything else, you have to answer why entrepreneurs partner with me. If you have a real good answer, then you can build in more under that umbrella of, okay, this is the reason I'm really good at product market fit, or I'm deep technical and I can work with this type of the companies. But building product is one thing, building a company is something else. I learned that a lot of people can build product, but not many people can build companies.
Awesome. So you're saying that basically find your superpower and see how you can basically help these companies. What is the part that you can really help them to be successful and they would like to work with you? Let me ask you a little bit question on the flip side. As people are thinking of starting their own company, and I'm sure you're hearing a lot of pitches every day, all day. How do you make a decision to invest in company A versus company B?
Yeah, I think we look at a few things. One, obviously, at the stage that we are involved, which is kind of a stage 0.5. 0 is team, nothing. 0.5 is somebody likes your product. There's not much data to look at. So we look at two things, team and the market. And in a team, we want to see a team that has a genuine relationship with the product or the problem they're solving. Either you have seen these challenges at Amplitude, that's why you're starting that company, or you have academic background. So I think there has to be some relationship with the founding team, and then deep knowledge of the market. If you are thinking, okay, crypto or NFT is pretty hot today, let me start that, it's kind of a red flag for us. People have 20 ideas, they narrow it down to 5 and pick one because it's very fashionable. Again, it's red flag. But if you come to me and say, okay, I've been working with the Amplitude, building this product, but I learned our customer need this, and if I can build this, it's a massive market, and convince us that's a massive market, those are really, really good signs. 2 is the chemistry between the team. We want to see the founding team, how much relationship they have, the responsibilities. If you have backgrounds together is great. If you're butt climbing every weekend together is a good sign. If you're part of a soccer team, it's a good sign. If you went to the same high school, the same university, or work at Amplitude, is a really good sign. We like the team who are building a company that they genuinely believe they're building something bigger than themselves. It's hard to evaluate early days, so we push them to understand that question. Maybe the most important thing, we like founders and CEOs who are captain of the ship. Captain of the ship leaves the last person, then the ship is sinking. So we like that quality. We like founders who are paranoid in a healthy way. People who wake up every morning, they have a vision, but they still have questions themselves and the decision they make in a very positive way of mind. If you wake up in the morning and think everything you do is right, I think that's the moment you're not growing.
Yes, that's great.
So I think put these things together, we look at the market. I tell you, we still make a lot of mistakes. We miss some of the biggest companies in the world by maybe investors make mistakes. We make mistakes. It doesn't mean we get everything right. Most of the time we're wrong, and entrepreneurs are right. The good entrepreneurs, we prove that they're not, and they figure it out. So we either overanalyze the competition. Most of the time, we don't get to know them enough. And I like that when entrepreneurs come and say, Pejman, you were wrong.
Yeah, that's great. I think you're really investing in the team, analyzing, and getting. I actually want to hear a little bit about your experience as you invested in some of the teams and they went through their journey. You started very early with them, seed or pre-stage. And what do you experience in some of the ones that are successful or the ones that were not successful?
I've been thinking for years about this, and I came to some conclusion I'll share with you. I think the number one ability among all of them the same is an insane amount of focus. Um, the best entrepreneurs, we don't see them anywhere. I mean, they're with the team or their customers. They don't come to conferences, they don't show up in happy hour, they don't hang out with venture capitalists. There's only one way to build a big company is with your team and your customers. That's one. Insane amount of focus. Two, they grow with their company. They spend a lot in themselves to grow. I remember we have a program called Pear Garage. Every year we use like top 25 technical students in the country, and it's kind of a social club for hackers. We provide them with a lot of resources to help them build products. We don't take any equity. So every year we take them to Drew at Dropbox. And remember, a few years ago, this is before Dropbox went public, one of the students who was sophomore said, Drew, you were a hacker, now you're taking your company public. How did it happen? He said, yes, I didn't know anything about being a CEO, but I thought I'm not a good CEO now, but I can be a really good CEO in 5 years. So I invest in myself. And I said, how did you invest in yourself? He said, I started to read books, and I constantly read books, I educate myself, and I talk to the right people. He actually has a list of 13 or 17 books online that you should I think if you search for Drew Houston reading suggestion, it's very simple. And I said, it amazes me that people pay $100,000 to have a lunch with Warren Buffett. I bought his book for $20 and I read it 3 times. So the ability to learn and understand that human beings have so much potential. You could be an engineer, but look at Satya, the CEO of Microsoft. He started as an engineer and now he's running a $2 trillion company. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of engineers in that room, they either retired or still engineers or whatever. But I think the ability to understand that, yes, you can learn. I didn't know about venture capital, but I learned as a rock salesman. If a rock salesman can be a venture capitalist, you can build rockets, take it to the moon one day. So I think there's no limit for human potential.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
I think the other one as part of the entrepreneurs that I learned is being able to hire a good team. I think you always want leaders that people want to work for them. And often I ask myself, do I work with this person, entrepreneur? And actually, it's an easy question to answer.
Exactly. I think you touched on in your previous answer and this one a lot of great leaders, characteristics. Somebody who's paranoid but is passionate about an area. Somebody who is very focused and is constantly learning. And I think one last thing that you mentioned that is very resonate with us is the growth mindset. Actually, this is one of our value systems. You said that people who are constantly growing and learning. So I want to open it up to people to see if anybody has any question that would like to ask Pejman. Thanks, Bilal, for reminding me. I love the chat, so I might go on forever. So thanks for giving the message. Anybody has any question, please put it in the chat so that we can ask Pejman any piece of advice, any insight you want to hear from Pejman.
I can start. I think as a former founder, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call here who could be founders in the future. Hopefully not before we IPO, but maybe after the IPO. Pejman, what are the things that you like if you can meet someone within one session that you find consistently impressive that you guys look for, or that these are the qualities of someone like, okay, this was really impressive. I know when we've done pitches with you, you were often the personality test person, the person we had to get through to you were trying to assess whether we were good people. What are the things you're looking for, and what are some of the reasons you would reject someone?
Well, I think if you're meeting an entrepreneur and assessing the business, obviously for me it's always the depth of the knowledge they have about what they want to build. I think as Shadi says, humility is why he or she is an entrepreneur is important. Their explanation that why they're doing this, and the answer is not a right or wrong answer, but it's very important. The ability to analytically look at the problems and explain that in a simple way to us, and being able to share your vision. A lot of people, they think they're sharing vision, but they're telling me mostly about the product roadmap, or the next round of financing. I was with Drew at Dropbox, the 10th year anniversary. And I said, Drew, if you have this, you and I will meet in 20 years, which is 20th anniversary, what do you think Dropbox is? And he said, Pejman, I want to reduce the 5 years work per week to 4 days. That's how Dropbox was. So that's more. He doesn't talk about product. He doesn't talk about financing. He really shared a vision. How, I don't know if he gets there or not. I mean, that's another question. But his vision was, I'm going to build a series of products that helps human being be more efficient. You don't need to work 5 days or 6 days a week. So that type of a vision is just really extraordinary, rather than say, oh, yeah, I'm going to build so many different products and does this. So I think people who are building category defining companies are able to really share the vision. And I always look for people who can reach the future before us, a future that we have never thought of it.
That's great. What's you don't have to name names, but what was the worst pitch you ever heard? I've often found like the worst pitches are the ones that I keep hearing over and over and over again.
No, I think the worst pitch is not about the product, and it's just more about why they're doing it. And some people come and say, one, I'm starting this company. One, we're going to be, I hate this word unicorn. We're going to be unicorn in 2 years. And then our valuation would be this much. It's just all about finance part of it, financial part of this, versus like, okay, I'm going to build a product that people will love to use it. I'm not going to sleep until I've figured it out. Either this product is in the hand of a lot of consumers or a lot of large enterprises, and this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to build a team. These are my challenges. I understand, and this is my answer. So is it two different ways? It's about the product and market. It's more about when you listen to say, this is not the right reason to start a company, and it's all about how much money I make. And I tell you, if anybody starts a company to become rich, I rest assured, I guarantee you, you'll never become rich. But if you think you're going to build a team, you're going to build a magical product that a lot of people are going to use, you're not going to create wealth for yourself. You're going to create wealth for so many other people who are working for you.
That's fair. Yeah, I've often find the inverse correlation between seeking success and achieving success. So, yeah, who else is interested to ask a question?
I see Jeff has a U.S. soccer team jersey with a cat.
Yes. So maybe I can ask one more question. As I said,
Sure.
I can go on and ask. So you have invested in a lot of companies. You have said yes to a lot of them, and you have said no to a lot more. Now that you go back, of course, hindsight is 2020. Which one do you think you should have made a better choice, and this was a mistake that you made in deciding to not go with that company or go with that company? And what did you learn from that is going to help you?
Yeah, so many. My God, the misses is big. I think in terms of the financial outcome, I could have, as an angel, invested $50,000 in series of Facebook. I didn't. This was down to the wire. It wasn't like some people say, "Oh, I don't know. I have an email." Actually, if you I think the day of IPO of Facebook, Wall Street Journal wrote an article on me, and this is actually the email from Facebook lawyer to me that it was $49,990 some dollars and cents. So think about, and the valuation was 80 million versus I think is like 800 billion. So you can see the return of that. I think I can't point to a specific company, but there are companies that I really, really misjudge the founders. I don't want to name, but those are very painful. It's okay if you think the market, but if you just don't get the founders, for me, it's very painful because I failed. It's okay to fail to not understanding the market for me. But I don't, I should have had one more lunch meeting or a walk with this person. Or maybe I should have not listened to people who build big companies in the space because they think it cannot be a new innovation. One of the things I learned, if somebody's building next Amplitude, one of the worst advice you get is from people who build Amplitude, because they always box in an idea and the challenges. And it happened with Dropbox, for example. You say, "Oh, why are you investing in Dropbox? So many people are building it the same product," but these guys build the product people absolutely love. So I think it's a combination of those, and we make a lot of mistakes. And if you're starting a company, and I think the best thing is just listen to your investors, make your own decisions. You're better at building a company than investors. Investors just maybe kind of the guide to you and sharing best practices, but that doesn't mean to have a deep expertise of what you're building.
Awesome, thank you. There's another question on what is in your portfolio right now, and which company do you think would become the next DoorDash or next Dropbox?
Well, if I knew it, I put up the entire fund in one company. That's one of them. People say, "Oh, why you didn't tell me to invest in Dropbox and DoorDash?" I said, "Well, I didn't know. If I knew it, I put the entire $300 million fund in DoorDash or Dropbox. I don't know." But I think we have some really important companies. We have a company called Aurora Solar. They just announced they raised money at $2 billion this week, and we found them that they were students at Stanford, and they are becoming the kind of the operating system for solar industry. And we invested in 2013 when people thought solar industry is gone. And I mean, it was again, these people share their vision and why they're getting stuck with them. I think that's an amazing company. In terms of more technical companies, there's a company called Vanta. Sequoia Capital just invested at $500 million valuation for compliance software. I think that's a really big company. If you have a company called Branch, they are coming out with the series of product. I think it's going to be big. But listen, I don't know. There are always companies that are going to surprise us.
Awesome. There is one other question about what are the biggest challenges for the company that you see after they go public? We are on our path. We're going to soon maybe go IPO. What are the challenges you have seen in your portfolio company? And
that's a good question. I think many companies get Act A really well, but they don't think about Act B and C. For example, Dropbox got Act A really well, but they are stuck at $10 million valuation. Versus Google get Act A really well, which is a core product search. But think about it, how many other products this series is like 2 trillion. I think Garden Health went public and they're coming with series of product and the company is growing. DoorDash, same thing. DoorDash is not a food delivery company. DoorDash is becoming the most sophisticated logistic company, can deliver anything from point A to point B in last mile in less than an hour. So they just announced a partnership with Rite Aid that delivered, for example, drugs, or they're creating their own 7-Eleven. So I think they started with food, but the vision was, if we can deliver an ice cream in less than 45 minutes, we can deliver everything. So they started with food and they're growing. So really thinking through what this company look like in 10 years. And if you don't have plan for it, you're going to be stuck where you are and not innovate enough.
Yes, I think that's a very, very important point. And what is your next act, and what can you do now that you've gone public? You might have credibility, you might be known. So how can you leverage that and make sure you basically do the next thing and not become stale? So the next question was that what advice would you tell to your younger self?
I wish I had read more books, just more knowledge, and basically, I actually don't plan life too much in advance. I take it day by day. I think I try to make the best out of what I do. I actually believe anything you do, if you become the best in the world, something magical will happen. I promise you, if I continue washing cars, I would have had like 10 car washes today. Because even if whatever you do, if you clean floors, if you are the best floor cleaner in the world, one day you're going to have your own company who's doing floor cleaning of Empire State. Whatever you do, try to be the best in the world.
Yeah, that's a very, very valuable advice. Don't settle. Do the best wherever you have your passion lies, and you're like that. Um, so there's another question is that what do you see your role is as an investor in helping make your companies become successful? What is it that you provide to them and help them?
Well, I think we have a team today that help our companies on all fronts, from go-to-market strategy, product market fit, hiring, marketing. We build a community. So it's a combination of a variety of different things. Our investment team have started and sold 8 companies to Cisco, Facebook, Dropbox. It's a part. So when founders come to us, you get a team of former entrepreneurs, so we can share a lot of know-how. We typically sit down with them and work on their operations plan for the next 2 years. We're reverse engineering it. So everything you need to do from 0 to 1, we want to provide services to you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of problems that needs to be solved. You want the founders to focus on the technical thing, and then you can help with a lot of other areas that they can leverage. Awesome. I think again, I wanted to thank you for your time. It was amazing, 1 hour that you spent with us and share your background and insight. I think it's going to be it's very inspiring and exciting.
Thank you, Shadi. I really appreciate you, Bilal. I'm grateful to be here. Obviously, if you start the company, I think you should call me first before anybody else.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
And you're a best partner, but thank you so much. I'm just so grateful. Thank you for inviting me.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.